is written in a way to make Barry Weiss seem unstoppable, that she is just this unbelievable, once in a generation talent, genius, just superstar. And you look at what she's done with CBS News so far. You look at what she's done with CBS News, this town hall with Erica Kirk that fucking bombed. Her trying to make Erica Kirk a thing, and people are just not buying it. CBS News viewers who have left because of the takeover, and then the new audience they're trying to appeal to, who, sorry, they're not into somebody who looks like Barry Weiss. They are not the audience that they are trying to cater to. Do not look at someone like Barry Weiss and go, you know what? You know what? That's a sexy lady that I can get behind. They don't. Barry Weiss has so far proven that her short tenure in running the CBS newsroom has been pretty much a disaster. She's not interesting in front of the camera. She doesn't know what the fuck she's doing in running a newsroom. She's showing that with all the billionaires and CEOs and celebrities and rich and famous and elites that she has in her pocket, that people, the public, actually are not that interested in what she has to offer them at CBS. They're like, she's boring. She's boring. I would rather look at, my blonde, blue-eyed, heavily made up Fox News host. You know what I'm saying by that? It's like CBS going right wing and signaling that they are here for MAGA, that they're like team Donald Trump. That crowd that they are attempting to cater towards, thinking that they will be bringing in all of these right-wing voters, people with right-wing politics, they're not interested in a Barry Weiss. Yeah, they already have Fox. They're like, we don't need Diet Fox. We don't need Diet Jubilee. No amount of money, no amount of connections can make Barry Weiss a genuine talent, can make her somebody who's like, yeah, she's got the juice and the sauce. They're trying to use her to infiltrate liberal circles. But this is what I'm trying to impress upon you is for all of the right wing wailing about how Hollywood is just so woke, about all these liberal elites. A lot of these people are just right wing. A lot of these liberals in Hollywood, the most important thing to know about them is that they are rich and they are self-serving and they are above everything else, wanting to ensure that their class interests are protected. So that's the truth of it. And they are genocide supporting. Yes. Now, it's a mix of people who are like diehard Zionists, hell yeah, hoorah, Israel. And then others who are just fucking ignorant and are just siding with power, just don't care. Anyway, except for George Clooney, except for Larry David. And this all started because I was like, George Clooney is calling out Barry Weiss and saying that she's dismantling the network. And so I'm like, hey, at least we have At least we've got a couple celebs here who have not bought into the Barry Weiss shtick. My dinner with Barry. My dinner with Barry. John Cusack's amazing. Yeah, he's super rad. I don't really look at him though as like a celebrity in Hollywood. At least they'll go broke winning the culture war. Well, we can only help. Or we can only hope. Mark Ruffalo. No, there are a lot of celebrities who have been openly pro-Palestine. I'm more so referencing in relation to this piece that I just read that named a lot of names, a lot of very powerful executives, CEOs, Katy Perry. Katy Perry, who's the biggest fan of free press, and looking at how somebody like Barry Weiss very easily wormed her way into these circles. Just in the same way she did in media, just in the same way she did in politics. It's like there's no difference between wealthy elites in Hollywood, like a Ted Sarandis or, any of the other names that were mentioned here. And then in politics, in media, in finance, in tech, they are all in the same club. It's like when you see Oprah at Jeff Bezos's wedding alongside right-wing figures. It's like, they don't care. At the end of the day, there's no genuine separation from them. It's just a name. One of them might say they're centrist. One of them might say they're liberal. One of them might say that they might say they're MAGA, but they're in solidarity with one another. People give celebs way too much credence in political stances because their influence is so driving in culture and life. And I say all the time, with exceptions, most celebrities genuinely are idiots and they are ignorant and they don't give a shit. They don't care because they don't need to. I think it's hard to imagine because we will never understand this world. Like, we'll never be a part of it. But when you are that famous, when you are that wealthy, when you are that connected, everything in life is given to you. You no longer, it's a totally different world. It is a completely different world. And it's amazing when you have someone who's a part of that world who still has like a tether to reality, who still has a semblance of normalcy, who hasn't lost touch, because you think about it and it's like, yeah, losing touch kind of feels guaranteed. How is somebody in a position like that at all going to be relatable, at all going to have the same concerns that most people in this world have? Rich people are mad weird. Yes, especially. Well, I was going to say, people who have just been rich their entire lives because they don't know anything else. But then you got weirdos who become rich. My dad is super wealthy. He's donated so much to Republicans over my lifetime, and he still doesn't back down. All his kids are gay and one is trans. All his kids are gay and one is trans. That's amazing. Yeah, I've shared a lot of stories of super rich and famous people that I've encountered, and they are not normal. They're not normal. They haven't been for a long time, if ever. And it's because they exist in a totally different world. They exist in a totally different world. And there are exceptions to the rule, but I think the rule is that if someone is rich and famous, they're probably a freak. They're probably kind of awful. How much could a banana cost, Michael? $10. We had to have dinner with George Bush. That's crazy. That is some crazy lore. They date each other, reproduce with each other, hang out with each other, etc. It's their own word. Yes. And people will always be surprised when they're like, what? This politician or like this famous news anchor, or this shitty journalist hanging out with some big name in Hollywood. It's like, yes, because these elite circles, it's a club. It's a club and we're not in it. Elijah Wood's cameo in I Love LA is a perfect example of what you're talking about. Rich people are weird. Yes. And then you have the layer of being rich, and then you have the layer of being famous, because not all rich people are famous. Not all famous people are rich. But then it's like you have rich and famous. It just feels like a double recipe for being a weirdo. I grew up and lived in the most populated area of millionaires in the United States in Michigan. You're painting a lot of broad, inaccurate strokes about traits within this community. That's great that you grew up in the most populated area of millionaires. I'm not talking about people who have like $10 million. Okay. If you think that's who I'm talking about when I talk about like the wealthiest of the wealthy in this country, the most elite of the elites, but also very strange for you to be defending these millionaires you grew up around. And no, I'm not painting broad strokes. But to be clear, I'm not talking about somebody who's like, oh, a wealthy lawyer who you grew up around. And just so you know, I see your collection of millionaires in Michigan, and I raise you the many billionaires, A-list celebrities, and these types of people I'm talking about, who I am certainly not painting broad strokes on. Oh, now are we defending? I'm not defending anyone. Yes, you are. You literally came at me and you said, you're painting a lot of broad, inaccurate, which you spelled incorrectly, inaccurate strokes about traits within this community. Is this your community? Are you getting defensive? You're mad because I am actually accurately pointing out that really rich and really famous people, first of all, they will always protect their class interests. Okay. So if you wonder why you have some liberal billionaire hanging out with some right-wing politician, it's because they're in the same class. All right. It's because they have the same interests that they are seeking to protect. Painting broad and accurate strokes is a compliment. Yes. It must be opposite day. You're confused. Look up West Bloomfield. I'm good. I'm chilling on that. You enjoy doing whatever it is you do. You enjoy doing whatever it is you do here, and I'll keep doing me. How about that? You do you, I'll do me. You're being a little wealthy phobic, sweetie. Sweetie, you're being mean to the billionaires. Sweetie, you're not being nice to the billionaires. Isn't Chatter painting a broad stroke because they're from just one community? I don't understand how we just read through this entire piece in this conversation we're having, and someone, after being a part of this ostensibly, is like, no, you're wrong. After reading this piece that named plenty of names in Hollywood, in media, in politics, in Silicon Valley, and I'm trying to get people to understand how they're all connected, why they're all connected, why, despite whatever on paper they claim their politics to be, at the end of the day, many of them are aligned with one another. Like, it's not. I just keep saying it again. It's big club and we ain't in it. I have to say, Chatter, if now you're referring to billionaires, that's even crazier. It's even crazier to be defending billionaires. You know that, right? You have to know that if there's one thing that's true in life, it's that being a person who defends billionaires is loser ass behavior, okay? Because somebody who has like $10 million, not at all on the same page as someone who has $1 billion. There is never a need to defend a billionaire. Billionaires should not exist in the first place. So we should not be defending a class of people who should not exist. But Caroline, Elon Musk is so weak and fragile. He's so weak. I have to be kind to him. Must be nice. Must be nice to Elon Musk. Poor little Elon Musk. Poor little Elon Musk. Deacon, thank you for the 28 months. ND, thank you for the 6 months. I went to high school with the richest people in my medium-sized city, and they were not the greatest people, to say the least. Chatter's defensive. Also, is it like... I'm just wasting my breath at this point. I think... No, the last thing I will say is I think people like that Chatter come to some conclusion that what we're saying when we're talking about these class divisions, when we're talking about how powerful, wealthy people are connected to one another, that what we're saying is that, like, everyone who has everyone who has $1 million or up is the exact same. And then everyone who has like less than $1 million is the exact same. That there's like no, they're like, oh, well, poor people can be assholes too. It's like, yeah, poor people can be assholes too. That's not the same thing as having systemic power, as like having, belonging to a class that puts you in a position where you are running the entire damn show. So it's also something that, from a common sense perspective, can you not, like, that's what I keep trying to say. It's like, yes, it's not hard to imagine that somebody who has an unholy amount of wealth and is famous would like lose any sense of normalcy. Like, that That's not hard to understand. Okay, you're a silly person. I'm done talking to you because you keep talking about psychology. I pointed out your generalization is faulty using wealth and not psychology. I'm actually annoyed now because I'm talking to somebody who is silly. You are a silly, silly person, and I'm done talking to you. Now we're going to talk about Isaiah Whitlock. Isaiah Whitlock Jr., rest in peace. You may recognize from The Wire. You may recognize from Veep. Isaiah Whitlock sadly died at age 71. And his manager, Brian Liebman, shared the news on Instagram, writing, "It is with tremendous sadness that I share the passing of my dear friend and client, Isaiah Whitlock Jr. If you knew him, you loved him. A brilliant actor, an even better person. May his memory forever be a blessing. Our hearts are so broken. He will be very, very missed." Can we just get a collective shit in chat? If you know Isaiah Whitlock Jr., you know that his catchphrase was shit. And that was something that became a part of a lot of his characters. In fact, when he got the role of Clayton Davis or of Clay Davis in The Wire, they had written that into the script. You got to play the clip here. I have a compilation of Senator Clay Davis best quotes from The Wire. Isaiah was such a funny actor. Everything he popped up in. There's even an episode I remember of, I think it's Atlanta. Yeah, it's Atlanta where he gets like forced into buying a fedora. He was hilarious. He's so funny in Veep. He's incredible as the corrupt senator in The Wire. He's great in Cocaine Bear. He's in The Carmichael Show. He was in a ton. He had a massive resume. He's in Goodfellas. He did a bunch of stuff with Spike Lee.
I am Clay Davis. Oh, they thinking short when they should be thinking long. Shameful.
So he plays a Maryland state senator because, of course, The Wire occurs in Baltimore. And he is known for being corrupt and taking bribes. And apparently the character was based off of a mixture of Maryland and, Maryland, but then specifically Baltimore politicians who were corrupt, who were found out to have been, taking bribes, doing fraud, all that. And somehow he just always worms his way out of trouble.
Oh, shit. Damn right. I mean, this is some shameful shit. I'm gonna bring you along, Strang, but it ain't gonna be an overnight thing.
That's the faucet?
Shit, as far as the federal money's concerned,
Hex saying, thank you for the 27
the
months.
faucet, the goose.
Oh, goose.
The one that lays them golden eggs. Look, it takes money to make money, Strang. Otherwise, hell, every pauper be a king. Shit, boy. 20 gets you the permits. 5 is for me for bribing these downtown motherfuckers. Irv, will you explain to this motherfucker just what the fuck it is he's doing here? You can tell all of them. Royce, the caucus, all them grasping bitches who we put in every city department. You tell every last one that I do not fall alone. Motherfucker, you need to put his ass on a footpost so far out in the sticks that he's gonna see the Philadelphia cops walking towards him. I'm talking about the people now. Think I'm gonna be the scapegoat for the whole damn machine? Shit. And it's your people up in my shit. Not no feds, not no safe people from Annapolis. It's motherfuckers from my own city.
God, his delivery was just so good.
Yes. Crawl, walk, and then run. I'm out there doing the Lord's work for you, Irv. You know it. Who got that pay raise through the council? Just enough for you to get that new patio, but not enough for that guy from Pittsburgh to take your place. Thinking you can cut Clay loose, huh? Thinking I'm done. I come here to help, but y'all out for blood. I'm not answering no more questions.
Senator, we'd like to talk to you.
Senator, please, over here.
Senator, would you care to make a statement?
Senator, please. Can you comment on the nature of the
Over here, Senator. Is it true that you appeared before the grand jury?
Jane, I insisted that I be called. You think I'm going down, don't you? You think I'm done? All y'all ungrateful bitches
So
thinking you can
good.
throw me out the boat.
Clay.
All right? I'm gonna remember this moment, Earth. I'm gonna hold on to this moment. Yeah. Hell and Fear Factor? Oh, shit. Don't even get me started. Boy, I tell you, we bled that motherfucker. And if a jury of my peers, you all, deem it right and true for me to walk out of here an upright and justified man, oh, I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm gonna do the same damn thing tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, until they got me laid out at Marge's funeral home and trucked me off to Mount Auburn. Shit, partner. All you gotta do is show Carcetti.
He said that line so many times. It became like a cultural phenomenon with fans of The Wire, but not just fans of The Wire, because this is something that was brought into other characters of his. And it was so synonymous with Isaiah Whitlock that he actually started, he actually created a line of bobbleheads that are him. And I think the bobbleheads like said the line. They said shit.
Everybody else that they already got the man for the job.
Yeah, so if you hear anybody, if you hear people make reference to shit, that's who this comes from. That was part of Isaiah Whitlock's legacy.
Let me tell you, brother. No, pardon, no. Some kind of police shit, hell, I don't know. What the hell is this?
Subpoena for records. Sphinx Club? Man of the year.
What kind of bullshit is this? You people must be out your damn mind. Just take care of your end and let your friends handle theirs.
This is so brain rot, but this edit makes me chuckle every time it pops up. Is it just him saying shit? I saw so many clips in tribute to him, and it was just compilation after compilation of every time he says shit, and it still didn't cover all of it. Caroline, are you a streamer, journalist, or a celebrity? I am neither. I am what we call a pop culture justice warrior. I ate too much Taco Bell. Shit. All of the above or none of the above? All of the above or none of the above?
Major crimes? Shit. Because if some federal motherfucker comes through the door, I say, hey, it's all in the game. But a city police? Baltimore City? Hell no, can't be happening. Because I know I have raised too much goddamn money for the mayor and his ticket. Hell no, ain't no soul in the world that fucking ungrateful. Let's order.
It's amazing too because as I said, he was in a ton of stuff. But his role in The Wire was a career-defining role, what most people probably immediately thought of when they saw the news that he had passed. And he didn't book that role until he was 50, which is wild. So he's just one of those character actors, and this kind of tends to be a thing with character actors where like they are they're at a later stage in their life when they finally like have the role that just makes them a cultural phenomenon. But yeah, he was 50 when he booked the role in The Wire that really catapulted him into a level of success that he just hadn't been at before. Like character actress Margot Martindale.
I'm hungry enough to eat the horse you rode in on.
If you don't mind, we're a little busy for a sit-down lunch.
Oh, no doubt. Just leave enough for the tab. Money laundering? They gonna come talk to me about money laundering in West Baltimore? Shit. Where do y'all think I'm gonna raise cash for the whole damn ticket? From laundromats and shit? From some tiny-ass Korean groceries? You think I have time to ask a man why he giving me money or where he gets his money from? I'll take any motherfucker's money if he giving it away.
Yeah, well, I don't want to know.
I know you don't want to know, but I'm scratching and clawing to get it done for you, Clarence. For you and me and the rest of the team. And who comes through my door but a Baltimore City police looking to get up into my shit about it?
Hey, we didn't know about that.
I'm sorry, I got to leave up out of here before I lose my damn mind.
Nobody knew about that.
You want to run a campaign with my money pillowed under your ass? You need your people to back the fuck up, Clarence.
At least we know he's running one.
All that profile? Shit, partner, you should be paying me a fee. Seriously, dog, for 20,000 cash to my campaign committee, I'll get myself indicted federal. Let you go to trial on that. Beat the feds like a stepchild and really make a name for yourself.
I think, too, it's very telling of just how perfect he was in this role, that The Wire had a lot of great characters, a lot of great actors, but still Isaiah Whitlock as Senator Clay Davis gave us some of the greatest scenes in TV history, not just even in the show, but in all of television history. Truly an iconic character.
Fuck you? No, son, I'm gonna make you. Motherfuckers gonna be wiping their ass with Johnny Cochran's memory and carrying your business card in every damn pocket before we done.
No, I already got more rep than any lawyer would ever need. Why don't you save that silver-tongued bullshit for the jury?
Yeah. He was awesome. He was so awesome. So if you've not watched The Wire, highly recommend. But you can also watch, you can watch his performances in Goodfellas, in Da 5 Bloods. He was recently in that show Bryan Cranston did called Your Honor. He was in Cocaine Bear. He was in Veep. He just has a lot of work out there. He was in the Netflix film I Care a Lot with Rosamund Pike. Apparently he voiced NPCs in GTA V. Oh my God. He did it all. He had a small role in Black Klansman. Yes. He's in Black Klansman. God, I'm looking through his filmography, and he was just in a ton of stuff. His passing's really sad. I hope he gets remembered at Oscars. I'm here to remind you for the 1,000th time, the bar is not high at all. For Barry Weiss to be more cerebral, intellectually curious, and well-read than most people in LA, and we're talking about Leo, Sacha Baron Cohen, Kim Kardashian, Mark Cuban, these celebrities. For Barry Weiss to be above where they are is not an indictment, is not like an indication that Barry Weiss is some genius, that she's some like unique genius. It's an indication that the rest of these people are really quite stupid, that they are, by belonging to this world that so few belong to, it has stifled them, implying that celebs can read. Yeah. When you are this rich, when you are this famous, when everything is given to you, when you no longer have any type of normal existence, you can become very stifled. There's no reason for you there's no reason for you to be intellectually curious. There's no reason for you to be a well-read person. You don't have to do anything except enjoy the very luxurious lifestyle that you live. It also helped that the town's politics, while famously progressive, were not rigidly defined. People are a little more politically open, maybe because they're less politically dug in or connected, said a longtime associate of Weiss's. There's a geographic distance. We don't live on that Washington-New York time zone. People saw her and Bowles as a dynamic duo and liked having them around. In person, Weiss is self-deprecating and warm. This is the most blowing smoke up Barry Weiss's ass article. This piece in the New York Mag that is trying to gaslight us into believing that Barry Weiss is like some charming, awesome person. Barry Weiss remembered details about people she hasn't seen in months or years. What you hear on the podcast is how she talks at a dinner party. She's very knowledgeable. She can disagree. She can express a unique point of view without insulting someone, and everyone can feel good afterwards, said the longtime associate. She's the opposite of socially awkward. She's really quite socially gifted. Bowles has a similar verve and sense of humor, but she doesn't want the power or the fame, a friend said. Nellie is Barry's biggest hype woman. There is something that I learned recently, and hold on a second. There is some tea that I became aware of recently, having to do with Barry Weiss and her wife, Nellie Bowles. And what I will say is, it seems to be the case, allegedly, that Barry is quite abusive, that she essentially has forced her wife into a trad wifey position. And there's also something, allegedly about her wife, who was maybe potentially transitioning before she met Barry. And then that was forced out of her. And it seems, this is me coming to my conclusion. This is me just kind of reading things and giving you my opinion, that Barry forced Nellie Bowles, her wife, into this like turf trad wife role, and did not allow is not allowing her to actually be who she is. And that is real fucked up. And it also feels like absolutely something Barry Weiss would do. And I think she is an evil person. I think Barry Weiss is evil. I think she's abusive. I think that there are probably a lot of stories out there, ones that you will not hear in this New York Mag puff piece talking about how popular Barry Weiss is in Hollywood. I am sure that people have already shared stories about how much she fucking sucks. But anyway, she's disgusting. She is disgusting. She got Rafat Al-Arir and his entire family murdered. Yes, she's an evil person. She is not self-deprecating and warm and charming, and she's an opportunist, and she has continuously failed upwards because she tells rich people what they want to hear. And rich people are not smart, all right? It's not hard. It is not hard to know the right things to say to billionaires, to have them be like, you know what? This person's great. I'm going to invest 150 million, you know what I mean? I'm going to give them millions of dollars. Odious little creature. Yes, odious is a very good word that keeps popping up in the chat these days. Odious. Just like every other evil fuck, she's a fucking loser. Mm-hmm. My favorite Barry piece is her "What Did You Do This Summer?" 7th grade essay about her Australian vacation she published as an op-ed in the Times. I pray for the day. I pray and hope and wish and dream of the day that Barry Weiss and all these people around her no longer can exercise this power that they do not deserve, that they abuse, that they have tricked people into believing that they are morally and intellectually superior, and therefore should absolutely be in the positions that they're in. She's legit one of the most mediocre losers whose entire career is based on the fact that she's a Zionist extremist and that she sucks up to billionaires. She really is so fucking mid. She is definitionally mediocre, definitionally mid. And that's what's so, that's like the whole, that's like the joke of it too, because she is not some evil genius. She is not some person who has horrible politics, but you understand like how she reached superstar status. Gormless behavior. Oh, gormless is such a good word. Ooh. Let's bring gormless. Let's bring gormless into our vocabularies. Gormless. Anyway, back to talking about Nellie Bowles. Nellie, who's Barry's biggest hype woman. Jaded insiders were taken with her Alice in Wonderland-like sense of awe at her changing life as she found herself at a screening at Gwyneth Paltrow's house alongside Universal studio boss Donna Langley and top producers. Oh, it's so easy to be a part of these elite circles when you kiss the right people's asses. These disillusioned bigwigs saw her as the rare young person with the guts to push back against what they perceived as the excesses of the left. It was a breath of fresh air for someone to say, hey, it's not crazy if you don't use pronouns in your email. Wow, so freeing. What a breath of fresh air. Hey, by the way, it's totally cool. It's totally cool if you don't use pronouns in your email. You're safe here. And it's not crazy if you don't call everything white supremacy, said Matthew Rosenberg, a friend and former Times colleague. And it was crucial that she was not associated with Fox News or the fringe right. She was the only person doing it who wasn't out of their fucking mind, as an LA-based journalist put it. No one wanted to invite Candace Owens to dinner at Ted Sarandis' house. Weiss was so ubiquitous that she became a punchline on Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like, at least there was one person in Hollywood who saw exactly who Barry Weiss was. Thank you, Larry David. Come for Shabbos dinner one of these weekends, a Hulu exec tells Larry David. We had Barry Weiss last Friday night. She's fantastic. And in the scene, which they don't include in this piece, of course, Larry David shuts the door. Like he slams the door shut. It's so funny because we watched that clip on stream, and I love that that's not what's included here in mentioning this Curb clip. The writer of this piece is trying to make it seem like Barry was so well loved in Hollywood and everyone wanted to meet and hang out with Barry, that she was even mentioned in Curb Your Enthusiasm. Well, what's not mentioned is the fact that Larry David was being very clear in how he felt about Barry Weiss by slamming the door after her name was mentioned. 100,000 subscribers, like, that's a lot. I mean, it's just I want to scream. I want to scream, but I think I talk about this stuff because to make us feel better at how horrible, at how all these horrible people just are running things and just keep failing upwards. To make us feel better about this, it's like, at the very least, we can keep reminding ourselves that it's not because of any genuine merit. It's not because these people are smarter. It's not because they have, they just are superior to us in a way that we could only dream of accomplishing. And I know we know this, but it's like, look, in Hollywood, in politics, in media, this is how it works. When you are a Barry Weiss who just tells powerful rich people what they want to hear, you get to go to Gwyneth Paltrow's house. You get to hang out with David Zassoff. You get $150 million for your shitty Substack. Not gonna lie, it kind of makes me feel worse. Well, oh shit. Yeah, here's the link. And as George Carlin said, it's a big club and you ain't in it. It's a big club and you ain't in it. And this is why, too, this is why people should not worship celebrities. They should not look at their faves in Hollywood and understand them, well, most of them, to be anything other than the class they belong to. Okay? Remember that rich people always have class solidarity. They always have class solidarity. They will always ensure that their interests are protected. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're on the right. It doesn't matter if they're like woke liberals, allegedly, right? Liberal Hollywood. They are all on the same team. They're all on the same team. Don Jenny, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Holy moly. By 2022, Common Sense had amassed more than 100,000 subscribers. Herb Allen III, an avid Common Sense reader who'd been texting friends with Weiss since 2020 and had invited her to lunch with his wife, asked her to come to Sun Valley that year. The retreat, known as Summer Camp for Billionaires, has been around since 1983. Corporate executives, media, and tech elites had political leaders descend on the Idaho resort town for 4 days of panel discussions, schmoozing, and deal-making. No press allowed except for a short list of journalists invited as guests or panel moderators such as Andrew Ross Sorkin, Anderson Cooper, and in 2022, Barry Weiss. She was on stage with writers Coleman Hughes and Douglas Murray moderating a discussion on the state of the West. At one point, Axel Springer CEO Matthias Dopfner stood up and declared himself a fan of hers. She deepened relationships with tycoons she had already met and formed new ties, including with Bob Mylod, a Midwestern venture capitalist who would become one of the largest personal investors in the Free Press, the chair of its board, and Weiss's business sensei. Weiss started thinking bigger. She spoke of the potential for a centrist media company, not unlike what Ben Shapiro had created for the New Right. She talked about publishing books and distributing films that others were too cowardly to get behind. She raised a few $1 million in a family and friends funding round that allowed her to hire a handful of full-time staffers. Early investors included venture capitalist Mark Andreessen and David Sachs, hedge fund investors Sir Paul Marshall, Kotick, Mylod, and Allen III. Also, centrist, aka just right wing. As if there's some difference. In December 2022, Weiss got a text from Elon Musk. The new owner of Twitter asked if she was interested in viewing internal documents that later came to be known as the Twitter files. The much-hyped reports did not quite succeed in showing how the social media company had been captured by woke interests, but Weiss correctly anticipated that they would get a lot of attention and moved up the launch of the Free Press to coincide with the reporting. The outlet introduced itself as committed to liberal principles of free speech and open inquiry that had been abandoned by the mainstream press. You won't agree with everything you read or hear from the Free Press, and we think that's exactly the point. It immediately became apparent that readers were eager for what Weiss was selling, even if the content often strayed into defenses of illiberal causes and positions. She commissioned pieces and wrote pieces herself that clearly resonated, said former NBC News president Noah Oppenheim, an early advisor. If that point of view was readily available elsewhere, nobody would have paid any attention. She obviously identified a real space in the market. The Free Press also generated a positive feedback loop among Weiss's network of wealthy supporters, magnifying her reach and influence. The unifying ideology of the Free Press is that it's all things a rich person would agree with, said a New York-based media operator. Thanks. Finally, somebody is fucking saying it. The first quote I have seen in this piece that is actually accurate. The unifying ideology of the Free Press is that it's all things a rich person would agree with. Netflix CEO Ted Sarandis, who met Weiss at a dinner party held by former agent and super connector Michael Kives, told her he liked her podcast series, The Witch Trials of J.K. Rowling. At an event at Grazier's house, Katy Perry told Weiss that she was a reader. Katy Perry reading the Free Press. Oh my God. Yeah. You don't say. Nothing should shock you anymore. Nothing should shock you anymore. Katy Perry being a fan of the Free Press, what the hell, sure. The Free Press was her inspiration for Woman's World. Yeah, Barry Weiss was who she thought about when she was thinking, it's a woman's world. I'm surprised Barry Weiss wasn't in the music video. I'm surprised. Barry is my muse. Barry Weiss is my muse. So anyway, Katy Perry, big fan of Free Press. Her intended appeal was to not just be a mouthpiece for the elites of the East and West Coast, but at the end of the day, the masters of the universe. That's whose support actually spreads things, said a former advisor to the company. One thing I want to say too, since we've just been talking a lot about MAGA Minaj, we've been talking about Nicki Minaj going full MAGA, being at Toilet Paper USA. I think what's important to understand is that there are more celebrities, and this is something I have been talking about since Trump 2.0, since Trump 2.0 has happened. Okay, the second coming of Donald Trump. There has been this emboldening of right-wing culture, ideology, and a lot of celebrities who in the past were speaking out against Donald Trump now aren't saying anything, either because they don't want to jeopardize their careers, their positions, etc., or because more and more people have embraced this anti-woke, pro-freedom, which is just right-wing. Like these are all buzzwords. These are all buzzwords, but we know that this is just right-wing. This is just right-wing politics. And I think a lot of these celebrities, like Katy Perry, for instance, isn't going to take the steps that Nicki Minaj took and go full explicitly, outwardly MAGA. She's not going to be at on stage with Erica Kirk, but they're like right behind that. They're just trying to be sneakier about it. Yeah, they're kind of trying to teeter the line. But a lot of these people, I genuinely think it's the same thing with Nicki, that they are tired of like people criticizing them. They don't want to have to be accountable for anything. They don't want to have to worry that like, oh, their support of an abuser is going to cause backlash. Like they genuinely want the freedom to have no morals whatsoever, especially if like they're an artist, they're a celebrity who's pretended to be progressive, who's like, oh, I love the gays, oh, I am, I'm a person who's just like the rest of you. And the truth is that a lot of them actually don't want to be held accountable for anything. They are narcissists. They have fragile glass egos. They believe that they're suffering for as a result of a culture that has become quote unquote woke, and that it's having it's having a negative effect. It's to the detriment of people in Hollywood who are suffering because there are consequences to actions. Blossomer, thank you for the Prime. Flex, thank you for the 5 months. They were like, I want to know who's behind this, said Jesse Jacobs, an advisor to Weiss and co-founder and partner of the Chernin Group, which has invested in emerging media companies like Barstool Sports and Hello Sunshine. Then they meet that person, and not only is it a message they agree with when they consume it, but it's a person that they believe in and are excited to get behind. He added, we've all had conversations where we're like, I want this meeting to end. This is really fucking boring. You sit down with her and it's like, I could sit here for as long as you want. Weiss and Bowles, who got married in 2021 and have since had 2 children, now spend most Friday nights hosting Shabbat dinners at their Larchmont bungalow with a rotating cast of guests. Their close social circle became a coterie of LA-based journalists, screenwriters, and other industry folks, including Euphoria creator Sam Levinson, Kives, and WME partner Roger Green. Sam Levinson continuing to be the fucking worst. Sam Levinson, you will pay for your crimes. By September 2023, the Free Press had more than 330,000 subscribers, about 50,000 of whom were paying, generating $5.2 million in revenue. Then October 7th happened. Weiss immediately leaned into charges that media coverage of the war was tainted by anti-Semitism. You are about to withstand a barrage of lies about the war that broke out today in Israel, she wrote in her first column after the attack. Turn on cable news and you can hear some of them right now. A few days after the attack, hedge fund billionaire Dan Loeb held a private event at his home in Bel Air to discuss anti-Semitism, where attendees, including Bob Iger and MRC studio co-head Modi Weissek, listened to Weiss in conversation with Tablet magazine founder Alana Newhouse. Guests dined on salmon and asparagus. It is the juxtaposition here of these wealthy, elite, celebrities, billionaires, CEOs, high-powered executives meeting at a mansion in Bel Air, dining on salmon and asparagus, talking about how the real issue here is anti-Semitism. As we know, juxtaposing that with what has been occurring to the people of Palestine. It is so fucking vile. It is sickening. It just once again makes me want to scream. Yeah, truly nauseating. Palestinians who immediately after October 7th were already facing a genocidal Israel, hell-bent on finally wiping them from existence. And you have these rich people in Bel Air, one of the most expensive areas of the country, dining on salmon and asparagus. Oh, Chris Pine is there. Bob Iger is there. All these A-list writers who've won Oscars. It's the who's who. And all anyone wants to do is talk to Barry Weiss. It felt like a tide had shifted and she'd leveled up. LA is home to the second biggest Jewish community in the US. Yeah, but notice again that and for the zillionth time, Zionism is not synonymous with being Jewish. You have plenty of people who are at something like this Bel Air meeting on anti-Semitism who are not Jewish, who are simply members who belong to the ruling class, who are powerful and wealthy, and those interests align with Israel. And also, a lot of people in Hollywood are fucking stupid, okay? They are ignorant. They're stupid. They have no idea what's going on. They are just going to align themselves with what has always been the status quo, especially as blacklists started happening in Hollywood. We saw people who were suffering the consequences of advocating for the safety and liberation of Palestinians. We saw what happened to them. And then those blacklists became more behind the scenes. It was behind more of smoke and mirrors. It wasn't so out in the open. And it created this environment of fear. And anyway, it is something where there now today are a lot of people who have shifted towards Palestine, who have broken free of the pro-Israel propaganda that here in the United States of America we have been subjected to for decades. But people in power, like in the government, like in media, like in Hollywood, align themselves with fascism, and that includes supporting Israel. So I think that's the thing is, you know, with the perception of Hollywood being liberal, with the perception of Hollywood being liberal, with a lot of celebrities now supporting Palestine, the issue is still that the people and the institutions and the the ruling class in this country that has all the wealth and all the power, they support they support Israel. They are more and more showing that they support Donald Trump, that they are just fully aligning with every position you can have that is fascist. And to be, thank you for the 37 months. The Free Press was, Chris Pine is there. Bob Iger is there. All anyone wants to do is talk to Barry Weiss. This war has been the most divisive issue tearing apart Hollywood, said a media exec. No event turned certain pockets of Hollywood more right-leaning than that. The Free Press was publishing articles like Why My Generation Hates Jews, citing polling that showed young people siding with Hamas, and the American multimillionaire Marxists funding pro-Palestinian rage. Who are these multimillionaire Marxists? Is it Hassan Piker? It resonated. The site's traffic and subscriptions surged in October and November, as did downloads of the Honestly podcast. It gave people cover. You could send her stuff around even if you wouldn't be comfortable saying those things yourself, said the media executive. In 2 years, Weiss would have more than 136,000 paying subscribers, at least 10 million in annual subscription fees alone. In 2024, Weiss gave a lecture at 92 New York, where one of her friends in attendance, Jerry Seinfeld, was heckled by anti-Israel protesters, an experience that they later chuckled about on her podcast. She interviewed Jonathan Haidt, that fucking lion-ass propagandist, about his new book in Grazier's living room alongside Tom Hanks, Lauren Sanchez, now Lauren Sanchez Bezos, and Kim Kardashian. And in the same month, bonded with Sheryl Sandberg over their belief that the American left had downplayed and even fomented anti-Semitism. A few months later, she was introduced to Jeff Bezos on a text chain with Kives. That fall, the Free Press raised about $15 million in its first formal funding round, valuing it at more than $100 million. New investors included Karen Seidman Becker, the co-founder and CEO of Clear, former Goldman Sachs CEO Lloyd Blankfein, and former Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz. Yeah, Barry Weiss, who is so emblematic of the anti-elite, anti-establishment, when she's just got all of these CEOs and billionaires behind her. The business was taking off, and now it was time to return east. Thanks, Hollywood. 6 weeks after Bowles gave birth to their second child, the couple moved into a fully furnished sublet uptown. In December 2024, David Ellison sent Weiss an email. She had not encountered Ellison during her time in LA, but he had clearly absorbed what Weiss stood for and why her brand was so popular with his California peers, and he expressed admiration for her work. As the year came to a close, Ellison and Weiss met at a restaurant in New York. His movie studio, Skydance, was seeking to merge with Paramount, the parent company of CBS, and he wanted to talk about the possibility of recruiting Weiss to work with the news network in some capacity. By early 2025, interest was coming from other places as well. Among them was Murdoch World. Weiss had been to Lachlan Murdoch's house a couple times when she lived in LA, and his wife Sarah is a Free Press superfan. Axel Springer's Doffner was also poking around. In June, Weiss and Bowles headed to Italy to attend Bezos and Sanchez's wedding. I must have missed that Barry Weiss was one of the guests. Amongst Leo DiCaprio, the Kardashians, Sydney Sweeney. Somehow missed that Barry Weiss and her wife were also at Jeff Bezos' wedding. At this point, Ellison's offer was the only real opportunity she was entertaining. A few weeks later, Weiss returned to Sun Valley, where she hammered out the sale with Ellison. She would report directly to Ellison, not to CBS News CEO George Cheeks, CBS News president Tom Sobrowski, or Paramount president Jeff Shell. In exchange, Ellison would signal with a single stroke that the new CBS News was pro-Israel, anti-woke, and MAGA amenable, all attributes that Weiss spent years cultivating in LA and that could come in handy in Ellison's dealings with the Trump administration. In his attempt to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery, which owns CNN, Ellison reportedly told Trump he would overhaul the cable news network, a process that is already underway at CBS. The deal, for around $150 million in cash and Paramount stock, closed in October. Weiss signed the paperwork on a Sunday, celebrating over Zabar's at home alongside Bowles, her sister Susie, some close colleagues, and a few bankers and lawyers. The next day, Weiss met with her staff at the Free Press office. Then she got in a black Cadillac and headed to the CBS Broadcast Center at the top of an industry that since the heady days of 2020 has been forced to kneel in ways big and small to the victors of the culture wars. You know the funniest thing about this? So this piece came out in December, and this obviously